Hello and welcome to ACS Golf and today's review, which is my Golden Oldie review for October. Now, if you're new to the channel, basically what this is I'm doing a series where I'm doing one review every month until the end of the year. I might continue this into next year as well, where I'm looking at golf clubs pre-2010 to see if they still stack up to the newer stuff and potentially could save yourself some money by picking them up. Now today is a little bit of a cheat because I'm looking at a putter. Now for me, when it comes down to putters, really, if something has worked for you for 20 years, why change it? You know, in the end of the day, all it is a piece of metal at the end of a stick. You know, the technology really hasn't moved on. I mean, I know you could say, all right, the forging process has changed, the milling process has changed, etc., etc. But when it comes down to putting, it is definitely the preference of the putter. You know, you could like an old club, like I mentioned already, 20 years ago, you know, or even 30 years ago, and for you, it just works. You know, you could go and get the brand new zero torque putters and then be horrible at putting because you've used this thing for so long and you just enjoy the feel of it, the roll, etc. So really, it is a little bit of a cheat because I definitely think when it comes down to it pre-2010, you can definitely pick up some great putters that will work for you. Because in my mind, I know you have the big zero torque thing at the moment, but that isn't necessarily going to fix your putting. I've used quite a few zero torque putters over the time. I reviewed quite a few for you guys on this channel as well, labs, even rolls, etc. And for me, they don't work. I tend to push them left. I've actually gone, well, back to a more traditional mallet putter with Cobra. I just can't get on with them. So there you go. So you don't necessarily need the brand new technology to be a good putter. So yes, it is a little bit of a cheat. And also, again, it's a little bit of a cheat because this club obviously holds its value very well because it is a Scotty Cameron, and it is this. It is the Scotty Cameron Studio Style 2.5 Newport. So the reason I'm also looking at this today is because they have re-released the Studio Style. So you now have a whole brand new range that has just come out this year. And so my thoughts are, let's give this a go to see if potentially you could save yourself some money by picking up one of these, even though, let's be honest, they're still quite expensive on the second-hand market, overspending £450, $500 on a brand new one. So that's also the reason why I picked this up, because a lot of the Scotty Camerons over the years have just been, you know, one piece of metal, forged metal, you know, and they've been milled on the face, etc. But the Studio Style has an insert, which you can see there, just like the new Studio Style. So Scotty, for quite a few years with their Newports, etc., was just a forged face, one piece of steel, but now they've gone back to an insert. So it's quite interesting. So yeah, so that's why I picked this up. Also, not gonna lie, a little bit of a Scotty Cameron collector. I do love all their putters because I think they're just like pieces of artwork, really. You know, it's great. It really is great. So yeah, but basically picked this up because I wanted it as well, I have to admit, but also to review for you guys to see if you should be going out to buy the brand new one or if you can get one of these, which I think is an absolute timeless classic, and get just as good as performance. Okay, so there you go. A little bit of a long-winded start to this video, but as always, what we're going to do is I'm going to have a closer look at this club. Then I'm going to give you all the spiel about this club from Scotty Cameron's website itself. If you never looked at Scotty Cameron's website, by the way, they have a great feature where they go through all their archives for all their putters over the years. So if you ever think, you know, well, I quite fancy this Scotty Cameron putter, you can go and find the information on their website, which I think is really cool. Then we're going to get down to the putting green. I'm going to talk to you about sort of the feel of it, what my thoughts are about it, and also just how insanely good this thing still is, to be honest. And then we're going to come back here for the ACS Golf Scale and my overall conclusion. So without further ado, let's have a closer look at this club, which I'm not going to lie, it's just, the whole lines of it is just absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful thing. All right, let's have a closer look at it. So there you go. And it's a gorgeous looking thing. I mean, if someone said to me, you have to play this club for the rest of your life, you can't put another putter in the bag, but it will still look like this and still, you know, be beautiful, and not get battered, because obviously if, if I keep on using it for the rest of my life, it'll be horrendously battered. But if it stays looking like this, I would be a very happy man. I think it's gorgeous. Much prefer this than over the sort of the newer Newports that Scotty released recently. Just timeless. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, piece of artwork, and that's the thing about old Scotties. They're just like a little piece of artwork. Stunning clubs. Now let's get into technology that's in these clubs. Now, they were released early in 2005 and ran to 2007, so this is 20 years old now. And off Scotty's website, you have this. The Studio Style series incorporates a German stainless steel, so GSS inlay, adhered with screws and high-tech polymer with precision milled 303 stainless steel, which is the rest of this. The milled GSS inlay and Studio stainless give the Studio Style Newport 2.5 perfect feedback, a combination of superior sound and feel. The Studio Style Newport 2.5 has the great attributes as the refined Studio Style Newport 2, but with a short, flowing Santa Fe style neck, creating more toe flow. The Studio Style Newport 2.5 feels soft and responsive from the use of the 303 GSS inlay, attached mechanically with screws instead of epoxies or glue. So they've done it with screws on purpose, so it lasts, which is a good thing. Maybe lesser brands at the time maybe would have used that epoxy, and then suddenly the face is coming off. Prime example is TaylorMade, with their brand new QI, I think it was a Stealth, wasn't it? All they could do, they couldn't, obviously you don't want screws in that. I will put my hands up with a carbon fiber, but you put in that epoxy, etc., and every now and again the face fell out of them. With this is screwed in, it's not going anywhere. So they're surrounded by, so there you go. So attached mechanically with screws instead of epoxy or glues, and surrounded by high-tech vibration dampening polymer. Great. The Studio Style Newport 2.5, slightly wider than from past years, gives the putter a strong, confidence-inspiring look. The single sight line, which we have at the back there, makes for easy alignment, and the finish is a beautiful, soft, beaded mist, which eliminates glare. Important, nothing... I'm not a fan of glare. These things are quite shiny. You look down at it, it can be quite off-putting. I also think as well with when you have a driver head and it's that gloss driver head, I find them greatly off-putting, especially when you've got it's a really sunny day and sometimes I can see clouds going over the top of it. Not for me. So yeah, happy about that. The face has a scorched bright finish and the GSS inlay is milled for a distinct look. To complete the Studio Style Newport 2.5, Scotty adds a red Studio Design grip. I've actually got the original on here. That's pretty cool. And a shaft combination label. There's the shaft. So it had a special label at the time as well. That provides the specs of the putter, an distinctive 4-dot head cover inspired by Scotty's family life. Interesting there. But so there you go. Really cool there. Tells you, the lie, the loft, which is 4 degrees, 35 inches. This perfect for me. And one thing about old Scotties as well, I just feel like the head covers are just far more premium than the newer ones. The newer ones are quite scratchy. Now, these feel like, I don't know if they were proper leather, but old Scotty head covers are perfect for me. So yeah, really happy I got the original head cover. To be honest, this is in really, really good condition. And I will definitely be keeping it 100%. So there you go. There's all the technology that is in this. More of describing the putter itself rather than the sort of the technology. But the main thing in there is that GSS insert. All right, now without further ado, and also the polymer, which you can sort of see around there to help with dampening, etc., which I will have to say does the trick well. So anyway, so let's get down to putting green now, and then we'll get back in here for the ACS Golf Scale. All right, see you in a bit. I'm down at the putting green on a really quite nice autumnal day, to be fair. We had some good weather in the UK recently. I'm sure it will change soon and it will get back to raining. But anyway, this is the first time I've actually used this putter out on the course. I had a few in the office, but this is the first time out on the course. And that was the first shot I did, went in. Second shot, went in. And you'll see in the third one, it went in as well. Unfortunately for the fourth one, I did push it slightly, but that's because I got in my own head, as we all do on the putting green every now and again, and thought, oh God, this can't go in. Can't hit 4 straight in off the bat. So yeah, that's completely down to me and nothing to do with the putter. Now, let's just get into the things I want to discuss quickly about this before we get back into the office. So really, I want to discuss the feel, I want to discuss the forgiveness, and also, you know, looking down at the putter. So if we quickly go into looks of it, obviously it's a very good looking classic blade, but if you want alignment or you need something a bit bigger behind the golf ball, obviously a blade is not for you. Go down the mallet route, and let's be honest, majority of players, even pros, use mallets now. They don't use blade because of also higher MOI. So going into the forgiveness with this club, out the middle, really good, as you'd expect from a blade, but if you do miss that middle, it does affect the speed it comes out. Not necessarily going to be missing offline, but you're going to be short. And every now and again as well, if you're really trying to hit it, obviously with that lower MOI, if you do hit it off the toe, then yes, it's going to go either left or right depending on the way the club face then opens. If it's off the toe, sorry, it will most likely go right because the club face is opened and it's pushed it right. So do be aware of that. Obviously the whole point of mallets is they have a higher MOI. You know, if you hit them not on centre, then the ball still goes just as far, etc. You don't get as punished as much. But yes, so forgiveness wise, it's exactly what I'd expect from this type of club. But then that's not the end of the world, because it means you've got the versatility. I remember there's a great shot of Tiger Woods specifically hitting his bladed putter off the toe, because it was a really quick downhill putt to make sure it came off really slowly to actually go in the hole and not shoot past. So yeah, a bit of versatility there for you. Am I ever going to try that shot? No, I definitely am not. Moving on to the feel of it and basically the roll of it and distance control, which all comes down to this insert, and my answer is absolutely lovely. From the shorter putt, I will say it feels a little bit hard, but that's only because of the golf ball that I use. So do be aware, if you're ever testing out a putter, make sure you use your regular golf ball, because if you use a really soft one, then the putter's going to feel softer. If you use a really hard one, then it's going to feel harder. So always make sure you use the same golf ball, which I do throughout these tests and on the golf course as well. But when I really had to hit it and hit it at a good distance, then obviously it comes into the fact that with this golf ball, it comes a little bit softer because you're hitting it harder, and therefore it felt absolutely lovely off the face. And as you can see here, distance control with this was fantastic. The ball just kept on going over and over. You know, really pleased with the distance control. You know, I found it really easy straight off the bat to get this ball to the right distance every single time. So that insert was doing its job there, doing its job as well for keeping that ball rolling head over head as well. So what can I say? I mean, don't get me wrong, I've hit a few putts in my office on the carpet, you know, so I have used this slightly before. I don't think you can really say it's been properly used, well, by me anyway. But then to get down to that green, and the first 3 putts was a fair distance away to get them in, and just missed the other one left, mainly because I got in my head then going, I can't get all 4 in, can I? Is insane. I enjoyed this so much, as I mentioned there. The feel off the face, especially on long putts, very soft. You can tell where your mishits are, obviously. You will be punished because it is a blade, but it's so much fun to use, and the distance control was spot on. Going up that hill, you know, to get it that close from that distance on all 4 shots was perfect. Did struggle coming down the hill, but that was definitely down to me and not the putter. I just couldn't gauge the distance there because it was actually against the grain, so it's actually a lot slower than I was expecting to go down the hill. But overall, really happy with this. Lots of putts sunk. If you've watched my videos before, sometimes you'll see me barely sink anything on a putter review. So for me, this thing works so well, and it does make me think maybe I should be putting this in a bag, because it's so much fun to use. It looks absolutely gorgeous. It feels great off the face. It is a fantastic putter. Anyway, on to the ACS Golf Scales. Remember, we got 5 categories, sorry. We got distance control, feel, looks, price, and forgiveness. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. As you can probably guess, distance control for me, 5 out of 5. So spot on. You know, those long lag putts should just be around that hole there. Really good, really easy to engage on how hard I need to hit it, because of the feel of it, etc. You know, if I do a bad shot, I know it's not going to get there because straight away I haven't hit it hard enough. You know, really pleased with the distance control and the consistency of it, because obviously, you know, with distance control, it is subjective. It is obviously down to me. But the idea about it is if I'm putting the same stroke on every single time, and I can feel that I have, to see that ball go the same distance every single time, not suddenly explode off the face and go 10 yards past the hole or something like that, which I have tried putters before and that has been the case. With this, as you'd expect from a Scotty Cameron and this insert, they are perfect every single time out the middle. If I stroke it well, sorry, I'm getting the distance I want and the distance I'm expecting. Really pleased with it. 5 out of 5 distance control, which I think, not sure I've given a 5 out of 5 distance control before, but I was shocked with how well this thing performs, especially the fact it's 20 years old. It just shows you at the beginning of this video, I said, you know, for me, putters, if it works, it works. It doesn't matter how old these things are. This is a prime example of that. Ridiculously well performing. Moving on to feel, 5 out of 5. As I mentioned, felt lovely off the face, especially on the long putts when you actually had to put a little bit of, you know, power onto it. The softness off the face was just brilliant. The roll was lovely as well. Overall, really pleased with that feel. The shorter putts, when you're not necessarily hitting it as hard, it did feel a little bit harder, but then I tend to use quite a hard golf ball, so that's probably just down to the golf ball, not really the putter there. And obviously when I'm hitting it harder, obviously you get a bit more compression on the golf ball, makes it feel a bit softer, but the putter itself feels fantastic. It's just those smaller hits, the gently hits feel a bit harder, but that's definitely down to my golf ball and not the putter. If I change the golf ball to a softer feeling golf ball, that's it, yes, yeah, softer feeling golf ball, then this would definitely feel super soft. Really enjoyed this insert, felt fantastic. 5 out of 5, and I knew where my miss hits were. If I miss hit it, I knew straight away, all right, that's not getting to the hole because I haven't struck it well, which with a blade and definitely with an insert, you know, you need to be getting near the center of this insert to get it to perform as you would expect it to perform. You know, blades aren't for the fainted-hearted, you know. Fainted-hearted? Might not be the saying there, but we're going to stick with it. You know, blades are hard, you know, they're not unforgiving, you know, difficult to align. If you look at most tour players now, they don't actually use blades. Majority of them now use mallets. However, I'm a sucker for a blade, and I could play this tomorrow. I really could. I'm actually going out tomorrow. I might have to, we'll wait and see, but yeah, beautiful. So yeah, 5 out of 5 for the feel. Looks, shock horror, 5 out of 5. It is classic. I love the colouring with the dots. I love the shape of it, which is obviously very Ping Answer. A lot of them look like that. I like the Newport too, because 2.5 is a little bit thicker than a normal Newport. Even like the hosel going into it and the Scotty writing there. It is just a beautiful putter, and the head cover as well. So yeah, I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. Some of you guys might disagree with me, but I just think this thing is gorgeous. So yeah, 5 out of 5. Moving on to forgiveness. So forgiveness for me, as I mentioned, this is a blade, so it's exactly what I'd expect. So I'm giving it 2.5 out of 5. Don't get me wrong with that insert. You know, it's not the most unforgiving thing in the world, but it is exactly where I'd expect a bladed putter like this to be. And that's the thing. I've tested bladed putters before. I tested the brand new TaylorMade one last year, and I actually played that a bit as well. Really enjoyed that. And that, which is, you know, 1 year old now, 2 years old, has probably exactly the same forgiveness as this. You know, it's a bladed putter. You're not going to be massively out when it comes down to forgiveness from years ago, because, you know, you've got the weighting on the edge here to try and help with that forgiveness, help with that MOI. Obviously, you've got that insert there as well to help with it. You know, it's not rocket science when it comes down to these sort of bladed putters. So you know, when you get them, they're probably going to be a little bit unforgiving, and that's what that 2.5 is. You will be punished on really bad hits, but generally, and not too bad hits, they're going to get you close to the hole, and then you're just going to have a tap in. So not the end of the world, but yes, if you need maximum forgiveness, if your putting's all over the place, get them at it. Don't play a blade. But yeah, 2.5 for me. You know, I wouldn't say this is any more unforgiving than any other blade on the market at the moment, personally. Obviously, you do have higher MOI bladed putters where, you know, got a little bit more mass out the side, and they would be a little bit more forgiving because of that MOI. But this, really pleased with it. Yeah, and I also find as well with the blade, personally, I tend to concentrate more on my putting, because I know it's not as forgiving as a mallet, you know, so I'm not thinking, all right, I'll be saved here if I put a bit of a bad stroke on it. With a blade, I'm thinking, concentrating on it a lot more, which probably actually, again, helps my putting, which I'm basically talking myself into playing this, aren't I, really? This is literally it, isn't it? Moving, so yeah, 2.5 out of 5, exactly where I'd expect it to be. Maybe you could say, all right, well, what would be lower than this? So maybe I could give it a 2, really. But, you know, for what this blade is, I'm really happy with the forgiveness levels in this. Yeah, 2.5 out of 5. Now on to price. So as I mentioned, you know, brand new studio style with the inserts. You can get them brand new in the UK for about £449. In the US, they're about $500. Don't get me wrong, you will find places where it's going to be a little bit cheaper or a little bit more, well, not more expensive, sorry, but a little bit cheaper. You know, some of these places do deals, etc. So eBay for this, just picking up there, had a quick water break. If you don't know if you noticed, but I did because I was losing my voice then for a second. eBay for this, you're looking, it's not cheap, to be honest, about £150 all the way up to about £215, depending on condition. So that's around, well, $200 to just around $290. That's not cheap. That's a 20-year-old putter that's not cheap. You know, Golf Bidder, which is a second-hand store in the UK, was about £165 for one. It's not really in great condition, to be honest, which is around $225. So really, if you want to get one in decent condition, you're looking close to that £200 mark. So, you know, close to that sort of $280 mark. I will say, actually, I did see one go for £137, $185 in perfect condition. So you could get lucky, don't get me wrong. So price-wise, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Now, you could say, well, hold on, you're saying this is just as good as the brand new ones. And I personally think if you're going for the Newport, you're not going to notice any difference between the two. Maybe they feel slightly different, but I think you're going to get the same performances because this is just as good. But there are a lot of bladed putters out there. Odyssey will come in cheaper, the older ones, even the newer ones, you know, the TaylorMade TM ones or the professional ones that I used recently, you know, they're going to come in a little cheaper. There's going to be lots and lots Toulon, you know, Odyssey Toulon putters, you know, they're fantastic. Ping older ping answers, they're going to come in cheaper. So for a Scotty Cameron, this is great, 3 out of 5, because I'm comparing this to new studio style, but I can't put it any higher because there's so many options out there when it comes down to putters. So many options of premium putters, which are 5-6 years old, which are the same sort of shape of this, which are going to perform just as well as this, in my mind. You know, you're buying the brand with that price because, you know, brand new, this was £199 when it came out. Yes, inflation, etc., but still, the fact that you can sell it for more than technically you bought it 20 years ago, all right, definitely not with inflation, but you know what I'm trying to say here. You know, it holds its value a lot more compared to other brands. So yes, fantastic. Compared to studio style, if you're going for the Newport route, maybe save yourself £200 and get this, $200, for example, and get this, which I think is a lot cooler than the newer ones, personally. But if you're just in the market for a really good blade, look at your ping answers, the older ones, you know, look at your Odysseys, look at your maybe Nikes, possibly, probably not, to be fair. You know, look at your TaylorMade, you know, there's lots and lots of, you know, your Toulons as well, you know, Odyssey Toulons, you know, they're the premium ones, and they're, you know, I can see them going for £120, a little bit cheaper than this. So lots and lots of options out there, but overall, 3 out of 5, happy with that. So, my overall conclusion, can you play this putter? 100%. 100%. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's a little bit of a cheat because, for my mind, it's just something. If it works for you, it works for you. It doesn't matter when it comes down to putters, how old they are. I think this thing's absolutely great, and I potentially might be putting this in my bag tomorrow because I've enjoyed it so much. I mean, I've seen other YouTubers out there, actually, like PJ Professionals, who picked this up for a challenge and gone, I'm playing this now. It is a fantastic putter. It really, really is. You could say maybe ahead of its time at the time. And I think, personally, if you're going to buy something the same shape, brand new, have a look at the second-hand market for one of these. Get one of these in decent conditions for the same price, well, for $200, £200 cheaper, I would be going for this over the brand new studio style. However, the studio style, I will say, has a lot more forgiving sort of models out there. They have a sort of the mid-mallet model shapes out there as well, which, you know, probably a lot of us should be playing over well, a putter like this. So do be aware of that. In that case, you know, either go for the studio style or maybe look at other Scotties or other brands out there. But yeah, overall, yes, you can play this, and I'm probably going to be playing this tomorrow. I absolutely adore it. I mean, I know it's a Scotty Cameron, but I was really surprised at how well this performed on the putting range. It just insane, absolutely insane. Just the balance of it, everything just took my breath away. It really did. All right, guys. Now I hope you enjoyed my review of this Scotty Cameron studio style Newport 2.5 all the way back from 2005. Comment down below, would you put this in the bag right now? Would you play it? You know, if you played one before, why did you take it out? You know, I'd love to know in the comments. Obviously, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and do remember to subscribe to the channel for weekly ACS golf reviews out on a Sunday, which relate to sort of the older second-hand, well, not older clubs, but you know, your second-hand market, such as, what is this? No, that's my brand new one. Such as, there you go, second-hand market, with brand new clubs coming out every now and again, reviews on Fridays, and a lot of other videos as well, which you don't want to miss out on. There we go. All right, guys, now I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you soon for the next ACS golf video. See you then. Bye-bye.